All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, for the first time since the end of the Matt Doherty era and the beginning of the Roy Williams era as the men's head basketball coach in North Carolina, the Tar Heels have consecutive seasons in which they've been unable to win at least 20 games. But things are different for Carolina this time around under former Tar Heel guard and current head coach Hubert Davis, as he is having himself a solid first year in Chapel Hill. Now, North Carolina is currently 22-8, while they are 14-5 within the ACC, and they're tied with Notre Dame for second place in the conference. Now, the Tar Heels have won 6 out of their last 7 contests, and they'd love to go to Cameron Indoor Stadium tomorrow night and spoil Coach K's final game there in what is one of the best rivalries in sports in regards to North Carolina and Duke. And you look at year number 1 for Hubert Davis at North Carolina. They've flown under the radar, and a reason for that is they just haven't been able to get that signature win. You look at the top teams that they faced, and for the most part, they've lost to all of them out of conference to the likes of Purdue, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and then within the conference, losing to Miami, Wake Forest, and of course the beatdown a few weeks ago at home at the Dean Dome versus Duke. But outside of a shocking home loss to Pitt, North Carolina has taken care of their business in regards to beating the teams that they're supposed to beat on their schedule. One of the big things is the fact that this is a down year for the ACC. You look at it right now, Duke is the only team from the Atlantic Coast Conference that is currently ranked in the top 25. Outside of that, nobody else. And you figure both North Carolina and Notre Dame are both 14-5 in the conference, and they're not ranked. Especially, and I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but you can understand it because, like I said, North Carolina just doesn't have the wins over the good teams this year, and that's a big reason why they are not in the top 25. You look at it, aside from North Carolina being able to handle their business so far and for the most part of the season, they want to try to keep some momentum going for themselves. Like I've said, they've won 6 out of their last 7, but they want to keep some of that momentum going for themselves as they head into the ACC tournament next week in Greensboro. They love to get a win to end the regular season tomorrow night at Duke. It's going to be easier said than done. You can imagine there is going to be a litany of emotion in that building tomorrow night. A lot of former Coach K players from Duke that are going to be in attendance to show him support. The Cameron Crazies are going to be crazier than usual. So North Carolina is going to be walking into a hostile environment, but nonetheless, Carolina would love to get a win there, and they want to keep the momentum going for themselves next week into the ACC tournament. And with that said, they don't want to have a step back because North Carolina definitely is going to be one of the teams that has a double bye for next week's tournament. And in recent years, we've typically seen that at least one team that has a double bye will lose in their first contest. And of course, North Carolina doesn't want to be that squad. But with that said, Carolina has talent. You look at Armando Bacot. I hope I'm pronouncing the name properly, but he has close to 16 and a half points and nearly 13 rebounds is what he's averaging this season. You look at Caleb Love as well, along with Minnick and RJ Davis. So there is plenty of guys out there that can go out there and be very productive for this Carolina team heading into the tournament. You ask yourself, speaking of the tournament, how dangerous could and would or will the Tar Heels be for the NCAA tournament? Right off the bat, barring something where North Carolina wins the ACC tournament, they're probably not going to get a top 5 or top 6 seed in any bracket that they're in. So you have to expect that right off the bat, which means that it's going to be a proving opportunity for North Carolina right away. And of course, you have to prove yourself with every single game in the NCAA tournament. But nonetheless, on top of that, for Carolina, it's a situation where you know what they're probably going to be facing a quality team from one of the bigger conferences right out of the chute. And from my standpoint, North Carolina, if they were able to win that first round game, it probably would be a huge shot in the arm for them to give them that confidence to go ahead and, probably, do some damage in the NCAA tournament. We'll have to wait and see. Carolina is in a very interesting position where, you know what, I could see this team being one and done in the NCAA tournament, but I could also see them doing some damage. But North Carolina is going to be like a lot of teams have been over the years. You just got to get over that hump, win that initial game, and then you could be off to the races. But nonetheless, 22 wins is definitely nothing to sneeze at. For year number one under Hubert Davis, 14 wins so far in the Atlantic Coast Conference is definitely not something else to gloss over as well. So let's see what damage that UNC could do this month. Maybe they could upset Duke tomorrow night. Let's see what they can do next week in Greensboro at the ACC tournament. And then, of course, finally in the big dance, let's see how Tar Heel Blue, a team that and a program that knows a thing about or two as far as doing some damage in March and of course in April in regards to heading to the Final Four and winning the national championship. Thanks for the support from TJ Loves Boxing. It's a lot of Tar Heel fans out there, and a lot of people, expect this team. Or let me rephrase that. Not just expect this team to do something. The expectations are always high at North Carolina when it comes to basketball. So, with that said, let's see what this team can do next week in Greensboro. Let's see what this team can do in the NCAA tournament as Hubert Davis looks to add his name to some of the legends that have come before him in the coaching ranks at North Carolina and try to make an impact in March. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.